Hey everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet a clip-on poo bag. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but if you're like me and like to take your dogs to the park, there's nothing more frustrating than people who don't pick up after their dogs. And I'm going to show you how to make a bag that will fit the rolled bags as well as your grocery bags that are left over from your groceries. And I'll show you how to roll that up to fit in there, as well as how to crochet the bag. It's really a super simple pattern, but it's also very useful. And you can find the free crochet pattern on my blog, and I'll put that link underneath this video. So what you're going to need to make one of the clip-on poo bags is you're going to need some yarn, and it's going to be less than an ounce. You can use a medium weight acrylic, which is what these are, or cotton. They both work fine as long as it's a medium weight. For today's demonstration, I'm going to use the Peaches and Cream in this red, white, and blue. These two are Red Heart Super Saver, and they're both the fleck. This one is the beige, and this one is the white, and they work great. The main thing is you're going to want to make it out of something you can toss in the wash. And acrylic works great, and cotton works great as well. And you can also use some of the cotton blends. They work well also. You're going to need a 3/4 inch ring or D-ring, a 3/4 inch hook that we can put on the ring. You're going to need also about an inch or 3/4 inch button that you'll use for the button flap. You'll need your needle and your scissors. One thing I wanted to show you is I purchased this from Walmart, and it's an assorted bag of different sized rings and hooks. It's called Assorted Colorful Findings, and I think this was $2.99. And so there's a lot of rings and hooks in here to use for different projects. And I just pulled out some so you could see this is the size that I'm using. 3/4 inch and 3/4 inch hooks. Now, if you want them bigger or smaller, you can certainly use those as well. We're going to be stitching our bag up with an H hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. We're going to begin with a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 15 chains. 5, 10. All right, there's my 15 chains. We're going to place a half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. We don't count the loop on our hook. There's the first chain, so we're going to yarn over, go in the second chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 of those loops. That's our half double crochet. And this project is all stitched in half double crochets. We're going to place 1 half double crochet in each of the stitches across. And since we stitched 15 chains, we began in the second chain from the hook, we're going to end with 14 half double crochets. This is how row 1 should look. You should have 14 half double crochets because we began stitching in the second chain from the hook. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And now we're going to place 1 half double crochet in each stitch across. Our chain 1 does not count as a stitch, it's just a turning chain. So we'll go right in our first stitch and stitch a half double crochet, and then we'll stitch 1 half double crochet in each of the half double crochets across. I've stitched 1 half double crochet in each of the half double crochets across. So I again have 14 half double crochets. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. And so what we're going to do is we're going to repeat row 2 11 more times. We're going to stitch 1 half double crochet in each half double crochet across, chain 1 and turn, and we'll repeat that 11 more times. Chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and then we'll just stitch 1 half double crochet in each of the half double crochets across, chain 1 and turn, and repeat R2 11 more times. I've completed up through row 13 because we had row 1 and 2 and then we repeated row 2 for 11 rows, which brings us to R13. Now what we're going to do is we're going to evenly single crochet all the way around the 4 sides. All right, so we're going to begin first by going down this first side. And when you're going down the side of a project that doesn't have any stitches, you need to put your stitches in the sides of the stitches themselves if you possibly can, and try not to put your stitches in the holes. Now there is not a set amount of stitches that you need when you're working down a side like this. I try to put 1 single crochet in the end of each row. And you're going to want to look at it and see if your stitches are too bunched up or if they're too far apart. You don't want there to be a lot of space between them, but you also don't want them to be bunched up. And there might be a spot where you feel like you have to put the stitch in the hole instead of in the side of the stitch, and that's okay. It doesn't really hurt anything. It just gives it a much nicer look if we can get those single crochet stitches, oops, in the sides of the stitches rather than putting it in a hole. Like right here, there's a hole, so I'm going to go right to that next spot, and I'm still eyeballing it, making sure my stitches aren't too far apart and aren't too close together. There we go, almost to the corner. All right, so now I'm to the corner. I'm going to go in that corner and move that tail from the previous where we started out of the way. And we want to put 3 single crochets in that corner. There was 1, here's 2, and then we'll put 1 more. And we do that so that it can just ease around the corner nice and neatly. All right, so now I'm going across the bottom, and this is where we started. That's our initial chain where we began, and so we can just put 1 single crochet in each of those chains. So we have somewhere to put our stitches on this. So I'll just work straight across, placing 1 single crochet in each of those chains where we began. I evenly crocheted across the bottom, putting 1 single crochet in each of those chains, 3 single crochets in the corner, and then I worked up the side the same way I did on this side. I've got my 3 single crochets in the corner, and now we just have stitches we can go across the top, and we'll just place 1 single crochet in each of those stitches, working across the top. Okay, that brings me to my corner. I've already got 1 single crochet in there, so I'm going to put 2 more so that I have 3 single crochets for that corner. I'm going to join to that first single crochet and tie off. Okay, now I'm going to take my hook to the next stitch and pull that loop to the back and tie off. And of course I'll use my needle to weave that in, but you'll notice that you'll have a rectangle. It will be a little bit longer this direction, and that's because when we form the bag we're going to be rolling it up this way. Alright, I'm going to take a couple minutes and weave these ends in, and then I'll show you how to form the bag. You're going to need to take your needle and cut a piece of about 18 inches of matching yarn and thread that onto your needle and have it ready to go. So this is our bag. We're going to be rolling it this way. All right, and so the way we're going to do that is first you need to decide which is your front and which is your back, because we're going to be doing this from the inside and then flipping it over. All right, so I want this to be the front because I like the way the stitches are laying, and this is going to be like this. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your needle, and we're going to begin at the bottom of this corner in that first stitch, and we're going to take our needle and weave it in and out those stitches on the sides. Leave yourself a little bit of yarn on the end. So we're going in and out those single crochet stitches, working all the way to the top. There we go. And then we're just going to pull that nice and tight and close that up. Okay, we're going to take the 2 ends and we're going to tie them, pulling that nice and snug. And one thing you can do is you can add a little tab of, or a little dab I should say, of your fray check or fabric glue if you're worried that your knot is not going to hold. All right, see how that is? When we're done, we'll flip it out this way. All right, and now we're going to repeat that on this other side. All right, let's do the other side. We'll do it exactly the same. We'll just start down here and go in and out those stitches, leaving ourselves a little bit of a tail for tying. There we go. And we'll do the same thing. We'll just gather that up and tie some knots. And again, you can add a little fabric glue or fray check to your knots. You can also add a little dab of hot glue, although I'm not a big fan of using it if you're going to get whatever you're using out in the sun, because hot glue can be melty and sticky. All right, now let's take our bag and flip it out. And now we're ready to add all the pieces. To make the button tab or button loop, we're just going to chain 5 chains. So here's my slip knot, and we're going to chain 5 chains. All right, then we're going to cut our yarn and tie that off. All right, then we'll take this and attach it to the center of our bag. All right, so I'm going to pull one of those strings through one loop and one of those strings through the other loop. All right, there's my button tab. And so the way I'm going to knot this is I'm going to do like this. And then I'll do a second one. And again, you can add a little fray check or fabric glue to this knot to hold it if you think it's not going to hold. To be honest, I've never had any of my knots come undone, and I use my bag a lot. All right, so here's your button loop, and we want to put the button right across right here. All right, so we're going to take our button. I've already got some yarn on there. Okay, so I'm picking out this red button. And when you sew a button on crochet, you want to make sure that you're going through a stitch and not a hole, or it'll pull through a lot easier. See where I'm going back through a stitch, not a hole. All right, and it's up to you how many times you want to put that thread through there. I'm just going to do a couple. And again, tying another knot. And again, you can use fray check or fabric glue on there if you want to. You know, I always tie at least 3 knots. Give it a good hard pull and clip. All right, so now we have our button and our button loop. All right, the last thing we need to do is add our clip and our ring. And I like to use these rings that are for the keys because you can add your keys or anything else that you want to add to the ring. Here's our clip, and I'm just going to clip it on there, and then just like that. Now that is ready to be hooked onto something. All right, so we're going to take this, and I've already got more yarn on my needle, and it doesn't matter which side you add the ring to. It's totally up to you which side. It doesn't really matter. You're just going to put your ring up there right on the end, and we'll just sew some stitches around. There we go. And the amount of stitches is again up to you. I like to put quite a few because it's going to be dangling off my backpack that I take with me to the dog park or the regular park where my dogs like to play. And I just like to have a backpack of their toys and treats and things with me when we go up into the mountains as well. All right, so I'm going to put a lot of stitches on there. Make sure your ring can still move. All right, let's unbutton this so we can get inside. And we're going to go to the inside of the bag and pull that through. And I'm just going to use my hook and grab that other one. There we go. So I have the other end of that piece of yarn, and they're both on the inside now. And again, we're going to tie another knot. And I know the rule in crochet is there are no knots in crochet, but it really depends on the project of what you're doing. There has to be knots with buttons and hooks and things. And again, I'm going to say it one last time. You can add a little fray check or a little fabric glue to all the places that you added knots. All right, now here is my poo bag with a hook so I can hook it on my backpack and a button loop. Let me show you. Here is the roll that I usually buy. And the truth is I get these at the Dollar Tree. There's usually 4 or 5 in a pack. They last all summer long just about. All right, so that'll work just fine for the rolls of potty bags. But if you want to use your leftover grocery bags, they work great too. All right, so this is what I do. I'm going to show you real quick. I lay them as flat as possible. Some are a little bigger than others. This is just your basic Walmart bag. I roll it in this way, then I roll this side in this way. Get them as flat as possible and just roll them really, 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 really tight. And I can usually get 2 in there. And I'll lay them out together and fold them up together. You can see there's room for 2. And now you've got a couple of bags with you. And the reason that I like to at least have a couple with me is not everyone is good at picking up after their dog. And if my dogs are going to be out there, I don't want them picking up any worms or anything else by accident if the owner didn't know their dog had an issue. We don't want our dogs to get sick. And also, nobody wants to step in dog poo, right? So here is the useful and easy dog poo bag that you can hook on your backpack, you can hook it on your leash, and you can hook it on your purse or anywhere you're going to go and you might need some doggy poo bags.